guys have noticed, but every time I get up here, I'm pretty nervous about it. And I know we all have nerves, especially when we're presenting a speech in front of our classmates. But mine goes a little bit deeper. I have an anxiety disorder. And the reason I'm sharing this with you guys isn't because it's something I enjoy talking about, but because personally, I feel when we can put a face to a situation, it helps us relate, and it helps us have more empathy to a group of people. Today I'm going to be telling you guys about the stigma that surrounds mental disorders and mental illnesses. And because I'm going to be using the word stigma quite frequently, I'm going to define it for you. A stigma is a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. And I'm going to be using the words mental disorder and mental illness interchangeably throughout my speech because they mean basically the same thing. As a society and as a community especially, we need to work together to remove this stigma. I'm going to tell you guys a bit about why there's a problem surrounding the stigma and how we can solve this problem and the effects that these solutions will have. So in September of this year, a young girl from Texas went to get her license, and they asked her a question. They asked her if in the last 2 years she had suffered or been treated for a mental illness, and she was honest. She told them yes, and because of that, she was denied her license and told to come back later for more testing. Obviously later, they said that they had made a mistake, that they shouldn't have done that, but it was already done. Several of you probably don't know this, but there's a week in October dedicated to the awareness of mental health. I didn't know about it, so I'm going to assume most of you didn't know about it either. We have all these weeks in school dedicated to this awareness or that. We have Pink Week and Red Ribbon Week, but where's our week for mental health? And there's this quote from a woman that was a part of the Democratic Party, and she said, "Guns don't kill people, the mentally ill do." And to refute that, I guess, I'm going to give you another quote from an article from Chicago Now that says, "People with mental illness are more likely to be victims, not perpetrators of violence, and very few violent acts, about 3 to 5%, are carried out by the mentally ill." So that's 95 to 97% of violence that is carried out by normal people. We have several solutions available to us, but I think the most important one is education. Because if we are educated, we know that this doesn't make them crazy. It's not just all in their head. They have a problem, they have an illness, and they need to be treated. They need help. If we talked about this and were honest and open, I believe that treatment rates would go up. Because right now, only 40% of those that are ill receive treatment for their disorder or illness. And then I have another quote from someone that works at the Illinois Institute of Technology that says, "The prejudice and discrimination of mental illness is as disabling as the illness itself. It undermines people attaining their personal goals and dissuades them from pursuing effective treatment." So when you stigmatize someone, everything they've worked for or are working towards, you're kind of working against what they're trying to do for themselves. You're becoming part of the problem instead of the solution. So in conclusion, by allowing the stigma to remain wrapped around mental illness, we are condemning those who suffer because we are ignorant and refuse to learn and educate ourselves. We let fear dictate how we view them. They are victims, and we as a society are the criminal. So I ask you now to be aware, to remember that change starts with you, and that if you know someone that has a mental illness or disorder, offer them your support, not your judgment, because one day it could be you. Because 1 in 5 adults suffer from a mental disorder. And there's 21 of us in here? So statistically, 4 of us, roughly, are going to suffer in our lifetime. So don't be a part of the problem. Help the solution.
How many like children or like teenagers are having illnesses compared to the adults?
I don't remember that statistic specifically, but as a total in America, adults and children included, there's somewhere between 40 and 62 million people suffering.
You said 1 in 5 adults have it. That's not
Well, some of it, like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, there's something that you're kind of born with. But like depression, that can be, you can develop that.
What type of treatments are offered?
There's medication, like mood stabilizers if you're bipolar, antipsychotics, antidepressants, or you can go to therapy. That helps with the less severe MS.
Do you know when like the awareness week starts?
It's the 4th to the 10th.
Is there quite a big difference? Like, is there a lot of people that tend to just develop it throughout their life?
I know with like depression, it's definitely something that a lot of people develop. It's not something you're typically born with. And typically like mental illnesses, there's something wrong with you. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain. It's not something you just wake up one day and you choose to have. It's because there's something physically wrong with you that people can't see.
So can most of this just be treated with like counseling? Like are most of them not? I'm guessing there are less severe ones. Or there are more of the less severe ones than like the more severe ones. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
more depression and schizophrenia or whatever.
Counseling definitely helps. It because you learn a lot of ways to cope with different things. But sometimes that's just not going to do it, especially if the chemical imbalance. Sometimes you're just going to need medication to help.
You've alluded to like a scale of severity. Can you give us some ideas of what falls in, say, maybe the lower side of mental illness and maybe the more severe?
There's actually this disorder. It's called dysmia, I think, and it's like the less severe version of depression. And like anxiety is split up into like general anxiety, panic disorders, and social anxiety. So it just kind of depends where you fall at.